So you just picked up one of these Chinese mini excavators or mini skid steers. You got it at auction, off Facebook, off a reseller, and you're excited to get to work. You got a bunch of big projects, and you're not sure what you should do first. So you join some of the Facebook groups, and everybody's parroting, change the fluids, hydraulic fluids, engine fluid, whether it's engine oil, engine coolant. If you have a diesel like this, just change the fluids. Now that is some good advice. The fluids, you never know the quality in it, if there's any water contamination, if there's any metal slag, any welding splatter, any silicone from when they do the manufacturing process. So it's a good idea to drop the fluid, to drain the fluid and clean out the tanks. Now I often see people asking on the Facebook groups, which hydraulic fluid should I use? The most common answer would be an AW46, an ISO 46 weight oil. You're not typically going to be running these things in the really extreme cold, so you don't need like a 32 weight and AW32. If you're, say, down south in Texas, Arizona, where it's really hot all the time and you don't get cold, you can get away with a 68 weight. It's a little heavier. It'll be better for when you're working in the higher heats, higher temps. For engine oil, you can just use, this is 1540 because I have a Kubota diesel in my mini hoe. For your gas engines, your Rados, your Briggs, your Honda, just a 10W30, just conventional oil, that's fine. Another question I see all the time is how much oil do I put in? There's two different kinds, typically two different types of sight gauges or levels on these machines. You got this style here, which is just one single sight glass. So what you would typically do is just aim to have it in the middle around that red dot. You can see it's hard to tell, but the sight glass is roughly this far down from the top of the tank. So the other style, the more common style, it looks kind of more like this. It's a tall rectangle, it's all glass or plastic that has a thermometer in the inside. Now this style sight glass seems to have the most confusion about it. There's a huge misconception or misinformation being told on the Facebook groups about where to put the fluid level on it. I mean, it's all in good faith. They're trying to help others, but I always see people repeat this, put the fluid level at the ambient air temperature. So like if your machine's been sitting like this, it's not running, hasn't been running for a while, the oil is just ambient temperature, and you drain the oil and you're putting it back in and the thermometer stays at whatever, I don't know, Fahrenheit, so 70 degrees. You don't put your fluid level to 70 degrees. Is it gonna hurt anything? No, because so hydraulic fluid level while the machine's running, getting warm, changes. Hydraulic oil actually expands quite a bit as it gets hot. There is an expansion rate, a thermal expansion coefficient that you can see in the data sheets for hydraulic oil. You can do the math to see how much it would do. I did the math on the 68 weight hydraulic oil on 20 liters, so one pail, roughly 1 5-gallon pail. Going from 40 degrees Celsius to 80 degrees Celsius will expand it about 1/4 of a liter in volume. So the hydraulic level will change as you run the machine and it gets warm. It'll also change because hydraulics are a loop. They're a loop. So you got tank, which goes to pump, which goes to valve, which goes to function. Goes like this, and then goes from the function back to the tank. Now on a hydraulic motor, there's no real change in volume. It's just constantly going around in a circle. But when you add in hydraulic cylinders, you can have a fluctuation to your fluid volume, because a hydraulic cylinder is just a tube with a piston and a rod sticking out. So there's a volume on this side and there's a volume on this side. But as the cylinder retracts, it pushes this fluid out. More fluid comes in on this side, but the volume difference between this side and this side are different because the volume of the hydraulic rod here takes up volume in the cylinder, so it doesn't need as much. So if all the hydraulic cylinders are extended, your fluid volume in your tank will actually be lower than if you had all your hydraulic cylinders retracted. Because if all the hydraulic cylinders are retracted, there's less volume needed in the cylinder because the rod here takes up volume in the cylinder. So what I tell people to do with these sight glasses with the thermometer is just aim somewhere between halfway to 3/4 full. somewhere in that range. While the machine's cool, you haven't been running it, the cylinder's just kind of in a neutral position, maybe halfway. It's just the boom's sitting on the ground, the bucket's down if you have a skid steer. Just aim for somewhere between the 1/2 to 3/4, more towards 3/4. Typically the sight glasses they're not at the top of the tank. They're usually about 20% down. So there's room for expansion in there. If you overfill your hydraulic, you're just gonna make a mess. Because on top of the hydraulic tanks is typically a breather, because these systems, the fluid expands and contracts as it gets warm and cool. So it needs to be an open system. There needs to be air to get in, air to get out. Or else, if it was just a sealed system, if you didn't have a breather on it, you'd pressurize your hydraulic tank, which would cause your hydraulic tank to leak or something like that. So if the fluid is too high, like I said, it'll get pushed out the breather as you're operating, as it gets warm, as you're running and it's moving around, it'll get pushed out, you make a bit of a mess. If your hydraulic fluid is too low, which takes quite a bit to be too low, you'll start sucking in air and cavitating, and you'll definitely notice it'll make noise, it'll be groaning, grumbling, it's not gonna function properly, it's gonna be jerky. That can cause a whole bunch of damage to your hydraulic pump and components very quickly, so you don't wanna do that. Another thing to do when you get these things, and you drain the oil out. So sometimes they'll have a drain plug on the bottom of the hydraulic tank, sometimes they don't. If they don't, you can buy like a fluid evacuator off Amazon. I can have some linked in the description here of the ones I have. So you can just suck it out. The problem is if you suck it out, anything on the bottom of the tank isn't gonna drain. So if you like pull a drain plug, if it's on the bottom, the fluid will pull any of the debris with it. You may not get it all, so sometimes there'll be like a cover on the top that's bolted on with silicone, or on the side. I've seen some where they're on the side where it gives you access to get into the pickup screen. So you can take that off. You can take a rag, you can clean out the bottom of the tank, some brake clean, a magnet. It's a good idea to put a magnet on the bottom too to help pick up any metal debris. You're better off using a ceramic magnet. A neodymium magnet, a standard neodymium magnet will start losing its magnetism at 80 degrees Celsius, which hydraulic tanks and fluid can hit. So, I mean, you can put the little neodymium in there. If you start getting around 80 degrees, it's gonna start losing its magnetism, and it'll come loose. Then you just gotta slosh around the bottom of your tank. It's not really holding any material anymore. Where ceramic magnets will hold their magnetism to a much higher temperature. So you're better off just getting a cheap ceramic magnet, put it at the bottom of your tank. It'll help collect any debris like that. If you did have a cover on and you're putting it back on, use some like RTV silicone. I prefer like Permatex, the right stuff. It's a lot more money, but it's amazing, it works. Don't put too much on, because then like little bits will fall in the tank. Some of the tanks will have a pickup screen, or like a suction side screen, or metal perforated filter on them that's just threaded on. I've seen people ask on the Facebook groups, should there be an O-ring on this? No, there's no requirement for an O-ring. I've seen people ask, oh, where do I get a new one? I wouldn't waste my money on buying a new one. If there's a bunch of junk on it, you can clean them out. Just rinse them off with some brake clean or some compressed air. I go in inside, blow it out, don't blow it off like that. You can force stuff in. If it's real bad, maybe try finding a replacement. Typically those, you can get away with just cleaning them. For your engine oils, the Rados, the Briggs, the Hondas, not that I've ever seen a Honda in these, but when you go to drain the oil, typically they just make a big mess, because the drain plug on the bottom of the engine is off the side and there's no hole made or any path for the oil to flow. So when you pull the plug, it just makes a mess. You can use an oil evacuator to pull the oil out of like the dipstick or the fill hole. Problem with that, you don't flush out any of the metallic components. Like a lot of the Rados, the first oil changes I've done on them, even the Briggs, they're usually pretty sparkly. There's a little bit of the break-in material coming off. So it's nice if you can actually pull the drain plug out and let her flow, because that material the debris will come out with the oil. It'll actually flush the system out. People will put a remote oil drain on, so they get a hose. You can get them on Amazon. I don't remember what the thread is right now, but I'll probably put it in the video. So you can thread that in, so you can have a longer hose, so that next time you go change the oil, you can pull the hose out, stick it in your drain pan, take the end off and drain. Those typically flow a little slower because they're a little smaller ID, because they're threaded into the hole of the engine. So you're tapering, you're stepping down the hole, so you don't get as much fluid volume, or you don't get as much fluid velocity out to carry any of the sludge. If your engine fill port or dipstick port looks like this when you're adding oil, just fill it up until it pours out. The level will be like this. Anything excess will just pour out. Just fill it up to that level, that's good. Some of the engines like the Rado 739 and this Kubota that's in this Kubota's D722 will actually have an oil filter. The Kubota oil filter is a lot easier to cross over. These Kubota engines are in absolutely everything. The Rado 739 V-twin, 23 horsepower engine, there's a specific filter to use on those because there's other ones you can cross over that will thread on, but where the threads are, they're not convexed. They're either flat or they're concaved. So when you're threading it on, sometimes the thread will bottom out before the rubber seal will bottom out. Those don't work. So there is like a Toro or something that guys use that work. I'll try find the part number to throw in the description or up here on the screen. If you want to be really thorough with changing your fluid out, you could drain the oil, clean the tank, put some other oil in it, run it for a bit, and then dump that too and drain it out. I typically don't do that. Usually you can get most of the fluid out of the tank. Most of the volume is going to be there. You might have a couple liters of total fluid in the system. Usually you can just dilute it down with better oil. The better oil you put it in. The solution to pollution is dilution, but you can run it, dump it, put another pail in. Doesn't hurt, just costs more money. So that's just some information and some answers to some questions I've seen asked on the Facebook groups. I will be doing a full service on this machine here. I have all these covers off here because this cylinder here acts funny. It's very slow. It sounds like the relief valve is opening. There's a few things I want to try to diagnose the problem before I get into it anymore. So I'll be doing more videos on this NT 18K Kubota diesel pilot swing boom. It's a pretty cool machine. I'm not super happy with how the controls are. They're very jerky. Even like I've had an FF15 similar type machine with a Briggs engine, which operated a lot more smoother. This thing's quite jerky. I've ran a lot of John Deere, Bobcat, Yanmar, Takeuchi mini hose before. And this one I was hoping would be a little bit nicer. It's not quite there. If you found this video helpful at all and you want to see some more content, it'd be awesome if you hit the like, hit the subscribe. I'm trying my best to make some more content. I finally got monetized, so there's a little bit more motivation to get some videos out. Down in the description, I might have some affiliate links to some products that I recommend. There's a little bit of a kickback on those, between 3 and 6%. This helps the channel out, helps me out.